Not all good character designs are good for 2D animation, so when creating a character for the purpose of animating them later, you should know the unique challenges and requirements that come with it so that you don't give yourself or anyone using the design difficulty later on. I think the most widely known distinction is that detail needs to be more limited compared to characters for other forms of media. Avoid having more than a few similar lines closely packed together, since when you start drawing in between frames, it'll become difficult to decipher in the mess which lines should connect to which. About a year ago, when I animated this character created by Funky Pepe, because it wasn't designed specifically for animation and I didn't think to adjust for that, in-betweening this hair became pretty complicated due to all the similar lines it's made up of. Whether or not a certain detail would be too much is really up to you. It's easy to add detail to a single image, but think about how you would manage to draw that detail over and over again. If you imagine it being difficult, then you should probably simplify or leave it out entirely. Needing to be choosy like this is great practice for character design in general, because you'll get better at making your characters feel interesting and unique in more clear ways rather than relying on detail. Color, shape, and more distinct physical traits that portray something about the character become easier to focus on. A typical turnaround will have at least a front, back, side, and possibly a 3/4 view. For 3D, this is enough information for a character to be modeled from, but for 2D, since the character will be redrawn instead of 3D modeled, the more angles you have figured out, the better. Those 4 angles, as well as a back 3/4 view, would be the most ideal. A 3/4 view drawing is, I'd say, best done before anything else and then used as reference for the others, since it's the most natural viewing angle and shows both the front and side of the character. Draw in the ground plane for a straight-on angle like this and horizontal guidelines to mark the heights of different features. If you have a symmetry tool, be sure to use it for the front view. If you don't have one, flip your canvas to check that everything looks even. And you could also try drawing one half on top of a rough sketch and then duplicating and flipping it to create the other half. The back view can be traced over the front view, or even reusing the exact silhouette. Don't forget though that it should be flipped. For example, a sword hilt sticking out from behind the right side of a person at a front view will be on the left at a back view. Mentally spinning the character around in your head will help you prevent silly mistakes like this. If you are working with any details like this sword that make the character asymmetrical, you will need 2 similar versions of some of your angles, like 2 versions of the back 3/4 view, one facing left and one facing right. If the plane the character is standing on isn't at a straight-on view, as if you are slightly looking down on them, you might find the process a bit more challenging, but making a turnaround like this could be more useful if this is the sort of angle they'll often be animated in, which would likely be the case if cinematic camera angles are going to be used. Anything that isn't like a side-scrolling game where the view of the character is always perfectly straight on and never changes. The main thing you'll want to consider and be a bit more careful with is where you place the feet. Imagine that they are standing on a round, rotating platform. In the front view, the toes are here, but when they are rotated to be facing away, the heels are now in that spot. Thinking about how an object should look at different angles can be tricky, which again is one reason I recommend doing a 3/4 drawing first. It's easier to understand the 3D form when multiple sides of it are visible. Another option is to create the object in 3D to then pull different angles from. Blender is free, and you only need to learn the most basic 3D modeling for this. What you make can be messy and ugly, so long as it gets the idea across. Then just screenshot the angles you need and use them as reference or for tracing. For 2D characters, it's important to not get too caught up in every detail being realistically 3D. There are times when you can ignore the logic of 3D space for the sake of having a clear silhouette at all angles. Mickey Mouse is probably the most common example of this there is, since his ears, instead of being fixed on his head in a realistic way, always remain as circles and never overlap each other. This logic breaking is okay because it was an intentional choice that keeps the iconic look of the character at every angle. Related to this, don't treat any angle of the character like it's more important than another. I think it's pretty common to put less and less effort into each angle you draw, and to give less thought to, say, the back view compared to the front view. But a good design will look iconic and have good shapes and a good silhouette at every side. Even with 4 or 5 angles of a character drawn, there is still going to be missing information that could be important to include. For one, the arm in the side view will most likely block some of the torso. angle. It's a common practice, at least in designing characters for 3D animation, to separate the arm from the body at this angle. You could also make the arm transparent, so long as the overlapping lines don't look too confusing. Look at your character and think about what other information is hidden and might be needed for animating them. If they're going to be walking around, an extra drawing on the side of your turnaround can show what the bottom of their feet look like. How their eyes look when closed is another easily overlooked detail, assuming the character will be blinking. And finally, for this example specifically, I feel it's important to show what the inside of the helmet looks like. That's everything you would need for a clear turnaround, but you don't have to stop here. Extra drawings of the character and more natural poses or actions can be included, and expressions as well. If this is a character that has lip-sync dialogue, those mouth positions can be sketched out. The more thoroughly you design the character, the easier they will be to animate, but there's no rule for just how thorough you need to be, so take your design as far as you want. I've posted a couple of turnaround templates on Patreon for free, so you can grab those with the link below. And thank you so much to everyone who has become a member on my Patreon. I've really enjoyed seeing your art in our little Discord server, and I'm grateful for however long you stick around. Here's a video about head angles, and a video about character design that you could check out next. Thanks for watching!